So you're going to start, Paul, and then I'm going to jump in.
Yep. Let me do this whole thing. I got us coming in 5. Oh, wait. Also, don't forget that the game of the week, I'm going to have a little drop for it. So I'm going to say game of the week. I'm going to play the drop.
And then I
I'll
guess
bring us back up.
okay, that sounds good.
I'll start off with my game of the week first, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, then coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Extreme EFFL podcast.
Thank you, Pablo. My name is Todd, and as you just heard, my producer, Pablo, is here. What's up, Pablo?
Hey, not much.
All right, good to see you here. But we also have an awesome guest, Joe Bliss. Welcome back to the show, Joe.
What's going on, guys?
All right, man. Good to see you. Hey, how about those Lions? Pretty exciting game. Winning overtime, and they got a little heart pumping little there. First,
yeah.
I want to thank our sponsors, 123go.io and Tabby Entertainment, for helping support us and for opening up those sponsor leagues. This week, we're going to talk about Week 1 highlights and thoughts. Can AI really win? And a peek at Week 2. We'll get back to that and more on the other side.
All righty. So we're back again. What do we got here today?
Oh man, I'll tell you one thing. Week 1 is over and done. So I want to just kind of chit chat a little bit about some of the recap of what's going on in the world of the NFL, but kind of more importantly in the world of the EFFL and also our Extreme Exchange. So between Paul, Joe, and I, we're going to break it all down for you. So let's get to it. So Week 1, we do have three, not one, not two, but 3 public leagues in the EFFL. We have the Platinum and we have our 2 sponsored leagues by 123go and Tabby Entertainment. The rest of our leagues, I think we have 16 other ones, are all private. So we won't disclose the winners of the private leagues, but we will go ahead and chat about the current leaders, the big dogs on the 3 public league. So getting to the first one, the Platinum League, I want to give a shout out to Michigan Ringer, Mr. Jack Bailey, for leading the pace at 281 points. And he picked A.J. Brown, so that's his superstar stud for the week. So Michigan Ringer and the Platinum League and A.J. Brown. So any thoughts on that, you guys?
I thought I had him. I'm like, and then I got, I think he had George Kittle go last night, and that's what did me in. So now I'm looking up at him. So he had an awesome pick for the week. I mean, I overlooked his team this morning, and he did great for Week 1. So hats off to him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I was about to say I was surprised that he was able to pull together like that, but he had a great performance there.
Yeah, I'm sure he has some technical issues. He's out there in Laughlin, Nevada, right in the middle of desert heat. So he'll have some kind of connections issues and probably have to have challenges with getting his team for next season, next week. But anyways, good job, Jack. And my Uncle Jack will be out there. Good job, bro. Moving on to the 123go.io league, and that is being paced by Mr. Jordan Dunning and his team called the Duke. He had 300.1 points.
Wow.
And his stud was Saquon Barkley.
Saquon had a great game.
Yeah.
He was real good in the standard leagues as well.
Yeah. So that's Mr. Jordan Dunning. And then lastly, we have a Tabby Entertainment League, and that is being led by Campbell Knows Best. Now, Rob Luckhart has been around for quite a while. He's down in the Mississippi, Alabama area. And Rob names his teams after coaches in Michigan. So he's currently Campbell Knows Best. Shout out to Dan Campbell. But his superstar stud, how about this one? Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams makes the Campbell Knows Best the number 1 team after Week 1. How about
Yep.
that, JMO?
I'm
He had a good
surprised.
team.
Man, if JMO is even a shadow of what he performed at on Sunday, this is looking like a pretty good team because Amon-Ra didn't do anything, and even Laporta didn't do much, which is great, which is fantastic. So it's, looking
That
forward
just
to
shows
that.
how deep the team is. So
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I just want to quickly run down some of the top leaders by position throughout the EFFL quickly. We got Josh Allen as the number 1 quarterback. Alvin Kamara is the number 1 running back, RB1 running back. Joe Mixon is RB2. WR1 is JMO, previously mentioned JMO Williams. WR2 is Tyreek Hill. And tight end, the rookie, Brock Bowers, is tops for the tight ends. Kicker, we have a homeboy here. Jake Moody is tied with Chris Boswell with 31 points. They've each got 6 field goals on Sunday or this past week. So pretty amazing. Offensively, we got Philadelphia as number 1 team, and we have a tie for defense with the Saints and the Chargers. So any thoughts on any of those numbers or guys or people?
as I was watching the Sunday games with my brother, and we were trying to calculate how many 50-yard field goals there were on Sunday, and I would have to say there had to be a record in 50-yard field goals that were made. It was just crazy. Like, it was just 50-yard after 50-yard after 50 yards. So definitely a week for kickers.
Did you see?
Definitely.
Sorry, Paul, cut you off.
Oh, no, you're all good. I was just saying definitely a week for kickers. 100%.
Yeah, I was going to say, you saw Brandon Aubrey for the Cowboys, right? He kicked a 66-yard field goal, and he made it.
And they called a timeout.
They called a timeout.
Or no, it wasn't a timeout. It was a false start.
A false start,
it was
right.
a false start. So it was a 72-yard, and they lined up, and then they called timeout and changed their mind.
I'm like, I wanted to see it, and as much as I'm not a Cowboy,
I want to see him kick that 70-yarder, yeah.
He'll do it. Someone will.
Oh, someone's going to do it sooner or later.
Paul, back in 1971, the record for the longest field goal was 61 yards by a guy with half a foot. Tom Dempsey, I guess a Lions. Now we're looking at 50-yarders, like Joe mentioned, are becoming the norm. So 60-yarders, even 70-yarders will happen soon. So,
it's very interesting. Even I've noticed that.
Yeah.
No,
good.
That's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting here. So the thing I'm super excited about, you guys, is our Extreme Exchange. So again, we tested this for a short period of time 2 years ago, and now we launched it, and this is the first week of it. I am super happy, not just because I think I did pretty well so far. Actually, I made money, but I'm super happy as the way it's coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, what you guys just thought as an overview on Exchange as of right now?
Pretty exciting. I mean, I was on it last night. I was actually talking to you about it last night. And pretty exciting. Looking at my buys and my cheat buys of $20, and I actually lost money on a couple $20 buys. So that shows you where we're at with that. But you had some good buys in there. Jordan Mason last night did excellent.
Yeah.
If you look at, there was one other one that did pretty well also. I can't think of it right now, but I'm super excited about it. You just got to figure out a deeper dive on where you can make your money off of it. And I did sell some stuff last night. I'm probably going to sell some stuff today. And then I'll see what I can buy later.
Yeah. Paul, how about your thoughts? What was your first reaction so far 1 week into it?
Yeah, I mean, I had some good buys, some bad buys. I definitely was disappointed with some rookie performances, but it just goes to show that maybe wait on the rookies for the first week or two to let the value drop and then go from there. So I'm learning some strategies as we go, and I'm definitely I'm down $30. Well, $23. So I'm trying to make up a little deficit right now, but not bad overall.
It's only week 1. We got 17 more weeks to go with this, so I mean, you got lots of time to make that money up. Lots of time to make that money up.
So I was driving last night up to Utica area for something I had to do with Tracy, and I heard on the radio that McCaffrey is not playing. So as I'm driving, I thought, I had to recall quickly. I tried to think who was the backup, and I thought it was Elijah Mitchell. I thought, no, it's not him. I thought, oh, it's Jordan Mason. So I thought I'm going to go ahead and buy him for $24 and change. Yep. And he goes off. He goes off last night. I have it here. He had a $211 day. So he performed last night at a $211 day. I'm sorry.
So I had bought.
I'm sorry. 199.
199.
Yeah.
I had bought Mason last week, but last night I bought his backup just in case.
Oh.
He was a rookie for $75, so I definitely lost money on that. But just showing what you can do with this game is, if someone's out, you can go buy someone right away to try and make your money up. You can make some, you can lose some, but super exciting.
Yeah. Well, Paul, you made a comment a few weeks ago about that, buying someone's backup just to hang on to them a little bit because it's a cheap investment.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Because you never know if somebody's going to get hurt. You never know if situationally they're going to put in somebody else for the running back when they get in the red line or something or the red zone. So I don't know.
Well, if you look at the game last night with the Jets, they put the backup QB in.
Right.
So you probably could have made some money off of that also.
Do you want to know how much you could have made of him?
Let me know, Todd.
Do you want to know? Because I have it right here, kind of right here.
Let me know what I could have made on that. I think it was Tyrod Taylor, wasn't it?
Yes, Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, it's got to find him. You could have made $3.19 on him.
Could have made up $3 right there, Paul.
Could have made $3 on Tyrod Taylor. So
get me in the $20 instead of towards the $30 range. See, big move.
So, do you guys know who the number one performer was this past week? I gave you guys on your sheet the top 10 overall. Do you see who the number one name there is?
I didn't.
Baker Mayfield.
Huge game.
Baker Mayfield had a $239 game. His price went up $35.87. I don't have the exact ranking yet, but he is now $160. I think he's in the top 5 of the highest priced quarterbacks.
So how many people own it?
If anybody out there bought Baker Mayfield, he just got $35 on one guy.
That's nuts. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Other notable names in the top 10, Isaiah Likely. Let's go back to Thursday's game, the tight end for the Baltimore Ravens. And I think people were thinking about, at least on the EFFL, the Mark Andrews. And I'm not sure Likely was even chosen by anybody. He comes out and has a $232 a day, and he gained $34.81.
There's going to be people that are going to buy him this week, and then he's going to lose money this week.
Well, he has $116 value now, or price right now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I'd be amazed if he plays at that value again this week.
Just give you
value, but I definitely don't think you're going to get similar growths because, this is one of the best players that played it in the league at this time, and I don't think it's very likely.
Is that a pun with his name?
Not Look very at that pun right there. That was perfect.
Is it Isaiah? Not very likely.
Yeah.
Other guys, top 10, we got Jaden Reed, receiver for the Packers, Foster Moreau, tight end for the Saints, Jordan Mason for the 49ers, Alan Lazard last night for the Jets, the Vikings defense, and the Bears defense. Now, the Bears defense, they got a block punt for a touchdown, and a defensive pick 6 for a touchdown. So it was interesting there. And I think Joe commented earlier that Caleb Williams got his first win by performing definitely subpar. And then Saquon Barkley and Jamison Williams round out the top 10 of the overall biggest movers of the week. So,
Speaking of the Bears defense, I had to listen to my wife talk about how good she was in picking the Bears defense on the exchange.
Yeah.
Over Denver
I'm sure.
last night. That was horrible. That was a horrible conversation.
It's how it's only $25.
She made money off it.
$25 off of them. Yep. Some notable downers. This is interesting. Patrick Mahomes. I thought he was a shoo-in at 109 to make some money. He's now 104. So
I'd pay. I'd buy him now. He's probably a good buy.
Interesting.
How much did Joe Burrow go down?
Joe Burrow?
That's a good question.
Joe Burrow.
He had to drop.
I should have had an alphabetical order. Joe Burrow went down $6.64. He's now at 109.
Okay. That's a pretty good quarterback price. Yeah. So there's some things that I guess I'll have to think about more now, which is like accepting possible loss for future gain and saying like, hey, you know what? I think that this guy is a good price. For example, Jalen Hurts right now. Jalen Hurts killed me last week, guys. I lost $26 on him, and now he's in under $100, which is a great price to pick up a quarterback who's going into a game up against.
So now you keep Jalen Hurts and you ride that out.
Exactly, and so it's like I would recommend other people they're going up against Atlanta this next week, but I would recommend one like if you don't have him, buy him because I think it's a good week to go for it. But also, it's something that I want to make my money back, and I do think that this is a good chance to do it quickly. So I'm going to hold on to it and try to make some of it back here because I do think he's underpriced right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Last week though.
And
I believe it.
All right, I'm giving you guys thoughts on this. There are 3 teams in defense that have a $10 value, so they cannot go below $10 during the season. So
Carolina Panthers.
It's Carolina, Washington, and Arizona Cardinals. Those are the 3 defenses that are at $10. So the question I have: do you take $30 and buy those people, knowing those teams? Knowing you won't lose money, or do you see that $30 being spent better with a $30 buy?
I bought the Carolina defense at $20, thinking that was a steal, and I sold them last night. I don't see them ever going above $20 anytime soon.
Bad? They look terrible.
They're awful. You let David Carr pick you apart all day long on Sunday and hang over 40 points on you. David Carr, trash.
Right. Yeah. I think that's indicative. Sorry, Paul, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think like what I would think about is that although they're $10 and you're not going to be losing your money, Joe Bliss nailed it on the head when he said they're only going to go to 20. You're not going to make much from it. And so is it really worth your investment? It might not be.
I would rather invest $30 on something else that I can try to double my money off of.
Right.
Sure.
It is a safe choice, and like you can go for it. But I think the issue too is that like what happens when you pick them at $10 and they go up like $6? You're like, are you going to sell them at 16? Or are you going to hope that they go up from there up to 20 something and then maybe sell them? So it's just an awkward game of like small margins.
And you got the Chargers going to Carolina this week. You got Harbaugh taking his run and gun to Carolina this week. As a visitor, the Chargers are favored by 6.5. So what's that tell you? The Chargers away team favored by 6.5.
Well, and you saw Alvin Kamara was one of the top gainers last week, and he was running back for the Saints. So maybe the Panthers running game is our defense was just terrible. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely think that the Saints game was more indicative of the Panthers' poor performance. I'll just say that, and not anything to do with how wonderful the Saints are. David Carr. I don't know. I can't rely on David Carr and Rashid Shaheed as going forward for a regular occurrence.
Right.
Yeah, that was odd to see. Shaheed outgain the number one receiver there as the Saints. I mean,
Olave?
I think he only had 3 catches.
Yeah, I think so too.
So yeah, but we do have a barn burner in Washington. If you want to talk about Washington's defense, you got the New York Giants going to Washington. So Washington might be a decent buy this week. You might make your money back off of it because Daniel Jones is garbage.
He is garbage. You saw that with a pick 6 that he threw, like a 5-yard.
You saw this. You saw the Vikings just pick them apart in New York on Sunday.
Yeah. We also have another $10 team out there for offense on the aforementioned Carolina Panthers. $10 offense. You get your Carolina Panthers. You get a Bryce Young and Xavier Legette. What do you think? No? Yes?
Well, Bryce Young lost $10 this last week. So
right.
That was
right. He
is $10 himself.
Right. And you just mentioned the Chargers were one of the number 1 defenses in the EFFL, and that's who they're playing this week.
Yep.
So I think I'm going to hold off on the Panthers offense until I see 2 or 3 weeks of them.
Yeah. Or at least until there's a better matchup.
Well, speaking of
a better matchup,
I don't know if there is. Speaking of holding off, because of the Jets game last night, they are now a $37.97 team.
Say that again?
The New York Jets offense
Uh-huh.
is $37.97. I mean, I know Rodgers is old. He did not look good at all. He had one good drive, the first drive. But man, that with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, you gotta have more than $37 of value there, don't you?
I mean, look how good Lazard looked last night.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't look good at all last year without Rodgers, and now he has Rodgers back, and it's like Green Bay all over again. I'd be interested in that offense. I would definitely be interested in offense. You got Rodgers who didn't play but 4 snaps. He's rusty. I still think he's got it.
Right.
Honestly, I do. I think by week 3 or 4, I think that offense is going to be $75, $80 by week 3 or 4.
Who do they got here next? Go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead, Joe. Who they have next? Either schedule.
They're in Tennessee on Sunday. Jets are favored 3.5.
And then they got the Patriots after that. Okay.
Correct.
I can see something here.
They play Thursday, so they play next Thursday night against the Patriots. That's the Jets' home opener there on Thursday night against the Patriots. So I can see that offense gaining some good money in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So that might be a Joe Bliss lock-in buy of the week right there, baby.
You think even with New England's defense?
You know, I'm not impressed with New England's defense. I think that was more Cincinnati not having weapons.
Okay.
Their offensive line did not look good on Sunday. I'm not saying that the Patriots are pushovers by any means, but I don't think they're that good. I just don't. And we'll find out this week. I think they're at home against Seattle this week. So we'll find out what their defense is.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say I think that they'll have some like cracks in their armor that could be exploited, and I think Aaron Rodgers has what it takes to do that if he has the chance. And so,
I mean, you got to get Breece Hall in line with Rodgers. They're too good to look as bad as they looked last night. And I don't even want to say that they look bad. They just look rusty is all. They look rusty.
So here's the question that I'm going to ask you guys. At what point do you pull the cord from Rodgers and say, all right, it's not going to work out. We're going to move on.
You can't. You got too much money invested in it. It's the same question you can ask about Cleveland. They got 230 million reasons why they can't pull the cord on Watson. It's all that guaranteed money.
So I'm not talking about the Jets. I'm talking about fantasy team league.
Oh, fantasy teams.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
he's
looking at all of the leagues that I'm in, as far as fantasy wise, nobody started Rodgers this week in any of my leagues.
yeah. No, not here.
He's
either.
on the bench as a backup.
Right.
So
I had him on the bench. Yeah.
yeah, so I actually tried to trade for him today, to be honest with you. I have Jordan Love in one of my leagues, and he's down injured, so there's not much on the waiver wire. My backup is that trash in Carolina, so I'm in trouble.
Oh,
Right. Oh, you got Bryce Young as your backup?
Yeah, so it's a 2 QB league, and I got Jordan Love, and I hate to say it, I got Jordan Love and Caleb Williams in that league, and my backup is Bryce Young. So I'm in desperate trouble.
I will say, man, like I think that I understand that rookies generally find themselves like kind of crumbling, especially rookie quarterbacks. There isn't often like a breakout CJ Stroud year that we see of like last year.
Correct.
So I think it's unlikely that Caleb Williams will. I think that's why people are happy to bet on Jaden Daniels, because the bet is actually against you that the best quarterback drafted is going to perform at that level. But it's not necessarily as against you to go for the people under that, because it's already kind of a risky bet. So you know what you're looking for there.
My philosophy of taking Caleb Williams in that league was it's a keeper league. You can keep one player and you lose round. So you lose that round the following year. So I took Caleb Williams in like round 12 or 13. So I think he's worth the risk of a possible keeper to lose that 12th or 13th round pick next year.
right.
Yeah. Speaking of keeper leagues, I think that we should totally do that with Extreme Exchange or something. I think that would be great in the future moving forward.
We might do that, and then you just have to rebuy. You get one thing like a private league though, like a private exchange league would work.
Right.
We're all committed to doing it, and then we, every year you pay the money, you get your $1,000 to buy new people, or if you want to do. But if we had a private keeper exchange league, wow, it's kind of strange. Keeper exchange, interesting kind of play on words there. Moving on quickly here, you guys. Only 10 tight ends in the whole league gained money.
Bad
Who
week
were
for
they?
tight ends.
I don't know. I don't know all the names.
Oscar Monroe.
Yeah, Monroe.
Oscar Monroe.
Likely did well.
Okay, right. Yep.
Brock Bowers. Maybe
Yeah,
Brock Bowers.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You guys, I'll get you. Jesus. All right. You got likely Moreau, Okonkwo, Pitts, Juwan Johnson, Colby Parkinson did well. Austin Hooper, Jordan Akins, Josh Oliver, and Noah Gray. Those are the only tight ends. Now,
so
Paul,
none of the top five in fantasy.
No, not at all.
I heard yesterday, none of the top 5 tight end picks in fantasy were even in the top 10 of points scored for fantasy this week.
Well,
so the Laporta, the Kelseys, the Andrews, the Kittle, none of those guys were in the top 10.
Well, let me show you let me tell you the biggest losers on the. Listen to these names. I'll go 10. I'll go 10 people wide. All right, ready? These are the bottom 10. Now check out these names. Jatavion Sanders. Okay. Gerald Everett, Dalton Schultz, Evan Ingram, Travis Kelce, Jake Ferguson, Hunter Henry, George Kittle, Cole Kmet, and our own Sam Laporta. Those are arguably the, maybe not the Sanders, but you got for sure 5 or 6 of the top tight ends out there, and they all lost money.
And I believe Ferguson is hurt, correct? He's got some sort of knee issue.
Yeah.
So you know what that means, right? That means you go out and buy some Luke Schoonover.
Exactly. Schoonmaker from U of M.
Yeah.
Schoonmaker. So there's a nice little advice tidbit we have there for you. So
I'm almost thinking that, and at this point, this is a very short-sighted statement. So I don't know how accurate this is, but it feels like the best bet players are also going to be the most watched, and so the chance that they are going to be just like shut down on defense is a possibility, and it's not something that anyone wants to see, especially if you play them on your field. So Travis Kelce might be the best rated one, but then just might not show up. So yeah, I would say maybe take your eyesight away from some of those biggest players, but who knows? Because Tyreek Hill performed super well last week too. So, and I'm sure Christian McCaffrey would have if he was in the running back position. So I don't know. At this point, who knows? Play the
I
game
mean,
however you want.
at least again, there's an old studies we all know that water finds its own level. So you have these big names out here, these players, but like Evan Ingram, I think like the last part of last season was #1 tight end for receptions. He's
Average
down to
6.5
76.
receptions.
Yeah, he's down to $76 right now. So this is where you get the stock market, Paul. This is where it's like, hey, where is the buy point for Evan Ingram? Do I
Right.
wait a week? Do I buy him now? And this is the cool part about the exchange is that you have these options that you don't ever have anywhere else. So anyway, that's kind of
Right.
a little thing there. Tight ends did not perform well. And
Right.
then
As we go
about
forward, I would say with like quick, like if people really analyze these stats and broke them down, they could figure out how similar these sorts of like trends are for like players and stuff, how similar they are to a stock market trend. Because I imagine like a stock market trend is a little bit more consistent than this. At this point, players are going to be performing based off of their matchups each week, based off of their individual injuries this week, or even the weather and stuff. So there's so many elements that it's going to be harder to track. Where at this point, people have put in so much effort with the stock market. People will give you advice on that. I don't think it'll apply. I think it's going to be really interesting to see people kind of figure it out for this. And I have not at this point. I don't know.
yeah, well, over time, the stocks don't jump as much. Any one stock doesn't jump as much as it did when it first came out. So it kind of levels out eventually, and then the whatever. But like I said, they'll all will find where they need to be. And I'm just kind of curious about this one, you guys. Your thoughts on Marvin Harrison Jr. He was 125 because he was a first round rookie. So now he's at 107. He lost $18.
I think I'm gonna let it go one more week. I'm gonna let it go one more week and see what he does. I'm a little worried because I didn't think Buffalo's secondary was that good. And as you've seen, if you watch that game, how they came out and they played really well, and they were actually beating Buffalo the first half.
Right.
So I think I'm going to sit on Marvin Harrison one more week. I do have him on a couple of my teams in fantasy. I think I got less than 2 points. I think he had 1 catch for 4 yards. I think that's what his stats were.
I have him also on my teams. Yeah.
They do play. They play the Rams in Arizona, and Arizona is a 2-point favorite. Or I take yes.
Joe, I think I just found your $30 spend. If you can go as high as 33, buy Greg Dortch.
Greg Dortch might not be a bad buy. I thought Michael Wilson was going to be a better show on Sunday, but they shut down Wilson and they shut down Harrison. Greg Dortch is playing out of that slot.
Right.
Speaking of slot receivers, you need to take a look at Chris Godwin. And they moved him to the slot this year, and he went up in value. He had a great game for Tampa Bay.
$10. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would watch him all year long playing out of the slot. He's more of a slot receiver than he is an outside.
His price is now $96.94.
Yeah.
So
I'd say buy him.
Anyway, so that is a quick breakdown, maybe not so quick, but a thorough, for sure, breakdown of the exchange through week 1. So I think we're excited about it's working. It's interesting. We'll see what happens. I know, Joe, you had a concern regarding J.K. Dobbins, who actually, even made money at the price that he was, as the initial offer you thought was a little too high. So, we're always trying to make this thing better for next year. If we find a better formula or make some tweaks here and there, then that's great. But anyway, so now, J.K. Dobbins, by the way, Joe, did you see what his value is now?
I did not, because I was still upset about the $95 value he had in week 1. I didn't want to buy him for $95.
He's 110 now. He went up $17.
If he can stay healthy,
Yeah. Well, anybody on a Harbaugh's team who can run is going to be worth money, because that's what he wants to do, is just run the damn ball. So
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. All right, guys. Hey, what's this AI thing I'm talking about? You know, this is out there, and Joe, I gave you a little quick comment this morning, but
yep.
As you guys know, or may know, I created an AI team in our 1-2-3 Go league. It is purely run by AI, and I call them the Asinine Idiots. So the Asinine Idiots are my AI team in the 1-2-3 Go league. Well, the Asinine Idiots outscored me. Which is not totally uncommon that I get outscored by something asinine. But the Asinine Exchange, they had 242.2 points. And they even used McCaffrey. They used McCaffrey for 0 points. Now, they burned McCaffrey, so they can't use him for 9 more weeks. But he had 242 points without McCaffrey. That's interesting. But even better than that, Joe, what I tell you this morning, of the 16 games, AI predicted on the money line 13 wins. Against the spread, they were 11-4-1. They did have one tie. So of the so they had one push. So a sample size of 1. So I'm not going to get too excited here. I'm still a little skeptical. Make sure this thing works. But sample size of 1, they were 13 of 16 on the money line and 11 of 15 against the spread. What's your thought about that, either on the EFFL part or on the betting line? And you're the bettors, Joe.
As far as the betting line, I'm honestly super excited about it. You know, I think money line used to be easy to pick, but now it's becoming quite difficult, as I took Cincinnati in a survivor pool, and I'm out of that. And now I'm out of that survivor pool, just like that. You know, I'm excited to see what it does this week. You know, as I said, I'm going to sprinkle a couple bucks here and there, and set it up in probably 4 different bets. Probably do 3 or 4 money line bets per group and see how it turns out. As far as your AI team, it's very intriguing. I'm not a huge fan of AI, but maybe it'll grow on me.
If it makes you money, right?
That's exactly what I said this morning.
Go ahead, Paul.
I like AI as much as the next person, which is not much. I don't think anyone really likes AI. I think everyone recognizes that it's kind of, you know, it's just formulaic, right? And it's not so fun to go with the formula every time. And so I'm interested to know how AI does. Like this week, they beat me also, because I got 233 on my good team, and so I think it's interesting to see how this goes. I'm sure they'll do well, to be honest. So I like to see it as fun to beat more so than like a real competition, right? Like it's a standard that I want to be above, because that means that I was using my strategy to beat the regular.
You're better than the computer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the way that I'm doing the RB1s and WR1s is I just ran it to give me a list of the top 10. So then I figured, all right, I'm going to, because we have 9 weeks had, so I picked the first and the 10th running backs. First one being RB1, 10th one RB2, and then receivers, same thing, top 10. And their receivers were Jefferson, and then they had Mike Evans was the 10th. And
big game.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So yeah, the only games that they lost the Atlanta, they lost Cincinnati, as did Joe, as did most of the world, and lost the Cleveland game on the money line. And then they had they add in Houston to that on against the spread, and they tied the Miami and Jacksonville game. So I don't know. We'll see. Sample size of 1. They're off to a good start. So when I get
excited about this week.
I get my week 2, Joe. I'll definitely share with you, so you can go ahead and you can maybe toss a few dollars out there.
Couple bucks.
All right. So overall, NFL. Give me your thoughts. Let's start with Paul. Overall thoughts, because hey Joe, just so you know, Paul has, as have Kathleen and Brad, but they actually have grasped and enjoying this fantasy football thing that they haven't really been a part of in a long, long time. So now they're actually enjoying it. They're actually getting part of the addiction of this thing. So Paul, give me your thoughts on what you saw in week 1 in the NFL.
All right, week 1 performances. I'm disappointed with the Eagles. I want to see them do better. Like I said, I was disappointed with Hurts's scores, but he actually didn't do too bad in like the ESPN leagues. He wasn't horrible. So like I don't think that he's bad, and I think he's got more potential moving forward. So I'm excited to see what they can do against teams that aren't necessarily Chiefs, And then when it comes to it, Arizona, they really let me down. I really had high expectations for their team, and I think that moving into these next couple of weeks is going to be kind of tough for them. I don't see things getting super easy for them throughout the rest of the season. So they've got to kind of get their feet on the ground here before they can kind of make their way back up in my eyes. And yeah, beyond that, I think there's a few things, like few players that I just kind of want to see do better than what I expected them to do, or like, they underperformed than what I wanted to see and stuff. I'm excited to see Dallas kind of take off a little bit. I want to see the Cowboys do well. I think CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott can both do good things. I never thought I would say it out loud.
Who raised
Whose kid is that? Whose kid is that?
I really think they could do stuff. I don't know how far they're going to get, but I want some numbers from them for sure.
You have $100 million in annual, almost $100 million annual pay going out to 2 guys on that team, and Prescott and Lamb.
Hey, I'm not saying that they're paid properly. I'm just saying that I want to see them do better in the year.
So, all right. How about you, Joe? What's your overall thoughts throughout week 1, either NFL or EFFL or whatever?
There's a lot of players that didn't do well in both leagues. If you look at EFFL and if you look at just your traditional fantasy, I was looking at scores throughout all 4 of my traditional leagues, and I thought in the league that we're in together in ESPN, I thought I had a horrible score. And I looked this morning and I hold the 6th seed. So that, okay. I mean, it was a very difficult week in fantasy this week. I'm not really worried about Arizona. They didn't have Kyler all year last year. They have to be able to gel together. It's the same thing with the Jets. They have to be able to gel together. This shows how important it is to play in preseason.
I agree with that.
Look at how many starters don't play in preseason, and look how bad of football we had this weekend. Look at Cincinnati. Yeah. Are they really that bad? And now they have to go against the Chiefs this week. So they're going to have probably a bad 2 weeks, and they're probably not a really bad team, I don't know.
Where were the upsets from last week, if you don't mind? Because I know that those upsets, that could be the classic example of when those starters aren't warmed up, they aren't ready to play, and so they come out and they lose a game,
Right. Yeah, it's I don't know. And an hour before the game, they were still unsure if Chase was going to play or not.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about Arizona. They do have the Lions in week 3 in Arizona, so that's probably going to be a loss for them. But I'm not the one to, I have a hard time dealing with slow starts and discouraged in, all of my fantasy teams. And I just want to get rid of them all and redo it, but I know it doesn't work like that. So I just, again, you just have to be patient, and we'll see what happens in week 2. But I think it's going to take some of these teams that didn't play together in the preseason probably 2 or 3 weeks to get going.
So, Joe, I'm on that league with you, and I'm on another traditional league also, and I enjoy all the aspects, right? But this is one of the reasons that kind of makes the EFFL a very viable option is, all right, well, someone like you, Joe Bliss, picked Jordan Love, and he's out 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever the hell that number it is, right? So now you're on a waiver wire trying to find that. McCaffrey, crap. I had him. I don't have him. Let's say I had him, and then he's not playing. Roma Dunze. I mean, I'm hoping he does something. And there's these injuries happen, and we understand this is a violent sport, and it's going to happen. But part of the FFL, yeah, okay, maybe you suck it up because you had one bad game because they got hurt, but for the next 9 weeks, whatever it is, don't pick them. So it's a nice little twist with that. But one of my discussion points here is I'm a homer. I have got to chat about the Lions. You mentioned it before, Joe. There was a bit of rust on the Jets, and there was some rust coming off of Goff, and he didn't play a single snap in the preseason. So, you're right. It's a risk, right? Do I get him out there to maybe get hurt, or and then maybe come out in week 1 and play better? The Rams are a super legit playoff team, and we needed literally every last second. And if it wasn't for one of Stafford's passes, I don't know how he eventually missed Cooper Kupp, because Kupp had like a phenomenal day, but one of those late fourth quarter passes went off Kupp's fingertips, and that let us get a chance to do a field goal. And if it wasn't for that drop pass there, things could happen. But I was super impressed. I don't know why it didn't happen earlier. That running game in the overtime, I've never seen a Lions running game that dominant. Barry Sanders was different. He would just break tackles and go off on his own. He didn't need the line to block as much as we did. But with Montgomery and his running, that was impressive.
That all goes to the offensive line.
Yeah.
You mentioned Barry Sanders had to do it on his own. Barry Sanders didn't have an offensive line.
He didn't.
And the entire time he was in Detroit. You look at the offensive line they had, and they spent the money correctly. You talked about Dallas and all the money they spent on 2 players, and they don't have any other skilled players on that team. You got Brandon Cooks is a decent receiver, but he's bounced around the league. Their running back room is horrible. It's old and horrible.
Right.
So you look at the Lions and how they spent their money, and they invested in the offensive line, signing people, re-signing people, and in the draft. That's where they're going to win their games, and that's where they're going to possibly win a Super Bowl. It starts up front.
Yeah.
It starts up front. Right. We are still a little weak in the defensive side of the ball. The secondary is still a huge concern. To let Cooper Kupp pick you apart like that, where the ball's going. Puka Nacua is out of the game.
Yeah.
Where the ball is going, and he's still picking you apart with an old-ass quarterback, we have another playoff matchup this week with Tampa Bay again. So we'll see what happens again.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to all that. So, hey, Paul, I heard you have a new game of the week drop.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Here we go.
All right. I'm going to ask you to talk about your game of the week.
All right. So my game of the week here, which I think a lot of people are going to have the similar opinion on, is going to be the Bears versus the Texans this next week. I just want to see this rivalry. I would love to see a rivalry develop here between Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud. And I also think that this is when we get to see firsthand if Caleb Williams can hold up to like professional league and get a pretty good reflection image of what it looks like when a quarterback can stand up to the professional league. So we're going to see real quick if he can handle the pressure or not. And I'm doubtful, but I'm hoping that Caleb Williams can pull through with something good. Although I will say, I think that the Texans are still going to probably win, but I think that I would love to see Caleb Williams pull together some decent offense here.
Joey, thought
so that's my game.
Joey,
my thoughts on that game is, I think it's going to be a good game. I do like the Bears front seven. I think they made some good trades to bring some people in there. I just think Houston's going to be too much for them. Vegas has it as a 6.5-point spread right now. Caleb Williams was very unimpressive in his home opener last week. Put up 0 points. I think he had 95 yards passing. He's got good skill set around him. And he did not take advantage of that. The running game was very poor. I think the running back had 5 or 6 yards.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it will be a decent game. Good game for Sunday night. Anything can happen, I guess. We did see Cincinnati lose, so it's possible.
It's going to be tough for Caleb to walk into Houston Stadium. Houston's all the momentum. They had a great season last year. A lot of young guys in that team. They got an awesome coach and Caleb Williams going on the road, listening to a hostile environment. I don't think he's going to do that well. I pick Houston there in a big one there. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take Houston. I actually will take Houston to cover that 6.5.
Yeah, I think so too. Yo, what's your game of the week?
My game of the week will be Sunday at 4:25. I'm interested in the Kansas City-Cincinnati game. We've talked a little bit about Cincinnati today. What truly are they as a team? Are they who they're supposed to be? I mean, they're supposed to be the champions of that division. They're supposed to move on to the Super Bowl, and they were very unimpressive on Sunday. Does it have anything to do with preseason? I don't know. Does it have anything to do with the no contract for Chase? I don't know. They traded Joe Mixon away to Houston. Their running game looks young and disoriented. I thought we'd see more Chase Brown in that game, and we didn't.
Yeah.
It was more Moss in that game, so that disappointed me a little bit. Kansas City came out on Thursday night and won by a toe, I guess is the best way to say it. That was a good game on Thursday night between Kansas City and Baltimore. We know who Kansas City is, and to add the fastest guy in the draft to their team is unreal. Worthy is going to be a stud receiver, and you can use him out of the run back also. So I like that game a lot. It is in Kansas City. It is a 6-point spread right now. I will take Kansas City in that game.
Okay, Paul, what's your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I'm going to go Kansas City as well, and I think that this is the week that I feel like this is such a statement that's bit people in the butt so many times, but I'm going to go for Patrick Mahomes doing some good stuff this week and pulling it together, especially with Xavier Worthy, who I want to see pull away some like nice stuff. I would love to see some points there. And I see a lot of potential. And Pacheco is a hell of a runner right there too. So yeah, we'll see.
Mine, I'm going to give Atlanta one more chance. So I'm going to say Atlanta is playing in Philly on Monday night, and there was a lot of hype about Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta, and with Bijan and Kyle and Drake London and all that kind of stuff. Now you're playing in hostile Philly. If they got to an 0-2 start, I know they're in a weak division, but I think that's just bad. And the longer that they go without winning, the sooner they're going to have Michael Penix playing in. So I'm picking Philadelphia to run away with that game. I think Atlanta is smoke and mirrors, and we'll see how that goes. So a couple of quickies here. Some like injuries. Quickly, what's your thought on Malik Willis coming in for Jordan Love?
I did hear a little bit Sunday night that they reached out to Ryan Tannehill to bring him in. And then I read an article yesterday that said that wasn't true. So I really don't know what is true. They are saying that they have not ruled Jordan Love out this week yet. Willis will be the starter if Love can't go for the future. They're saying it's a 3 to 4 week injury. So definitely going to be Willis this week for sure. Yeah. Probably next also. I think you have to knock down that skill set receiver-wise a little bit with him coming in. He's more of a mobile quarterback than he is a true pocket passer. Okay. So I don't think Watson is going to be startable in fantasy. Jordan Reed, possibly a starter because he can come out of the backfield also. But I would probably stay away from all the receivers except Jordan Reed in that game. That's where I stand on it.
Okay. Any thoughts, Paul, on that? quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've got a couple of tough games coming up ahead of them, so it's going to be a rough spot for Green Bay to be in right here. I know that they want to make the playoffs, and I know that there's a lot of talk about them trying to usurp Detroit in the division, and I think that this is going to make that real tough for them. So we're going to see if they can get the rest of their core working together, and then maybe even if they don't have them these couple weeks, they can kind of get a little good thing worked out, and then from there maybe they can, once he comes back, take Jordan Love in full stride with a little bit of good stuff that they've worked out. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough spot for him. So personally, though, not the biggest Green Bay fan, so I ain't sweating about it.
And the Lions, we want the Lions to get a little bit of a cushion here. And then lastly, quickly on this, is Jordan Mason for real? He covered in for McCaffrey last night. What do you think of Jordan Mason?
I think anyone that's in that Kyle Shanahan running back room is for real. If you watched the game at all last night, you did see the running backs coach, who's a old timer. I can't remember his name, but this guy was with Mike Shanahan's coaching staff when he was in Denver. That took a lot of no names and made them 1,000-yard rushers. Orlando Scary being one of them. Terrell Davis was a 6th-round pick, and he's now in the Hall of Fame. So anyone that's in that Shanahan running back room, I think is definitely a good runner. I did hear this morning that it's very possible McCaffrey will be out against Minnesota this week also and make his debut next week. So I do believe Jordan Mason is a good pickup this week if you're looking for fantasy. If you haven't bought him in the exchange, you better buy him now because he will go up again this week running up against Minnesota's defense. And if you are going to play the EFFL, he's probably a good launch to go out this week. Probably as an RB2. I would not use him as an RB1 though. But anyone in that running back room is for real as long as the coach is a Shanahan.
I agree with all that because I'm on point there, both of you. That's awesome.
Something that I was going to add on to that is that, like, if there's any team that's going to be able to utilize running that well and you make it a weapon, even with somebody who isn't necessarily that Christian McCaffrey, it's going to be the Niners. And so I think that personally, I don't think that Christian McCaffrey is going to be dethroned by him at any moment. This is the best running back in the league, and they paid him a good bag for him. So I don't think they're going to replace him at any moment. But I do think that this is going to be a good chance for them to flesh out, which they've seen some success here now. A good chance to kind of work him out and get him into a more established position as a secondary.
Well, that just shows you that you don't have to rush McCaffrey back this week. You can roll out Mason one more week. You did go against a tough Jets defense last night, and you made them look kind of average. I still think the Jets defense is better than what they showed last night. And I don't think Minnesota's defense is as good as what they showed on Sunday because they played the Giants. So I'd roll Jordan Mason out against anybody right now.
Okay. Awesome. I wanted to add one little thing here regarding a whole other topic. Just because if you want to get into a league and you're not in the league yet, you can still join any of the EFFL leagues or even our exchange. Having 1 week of a zero on that, I have some teams in my leagues that have a zero. So if you are wanting to join the league, it's not too late. Come on over or jump on the exchange. $1,000, get you a $1,000 portfolio. Spend it how you want. Have fun with that. But I'm going to ask Paul to turn on the music. We're going to wrap up this show. So,
all right.
If you made it through the video, I want to thank you so much and appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all those buttons you see right around there, wherever they all do all that. Official EFFL podcast. And we are trying to do 2 podcasts a week coming up. We're going to do one on Sunday morning to highlight and get off to the good week. Sunday is great. A shout out again to our sponsors, 123go.io and Tabby Entertainment. And a special shout out to our guest, Mr. Joe Bliss. This is your 3rd time on the show, Joe. So it's awesome having you here. It's great.
It's always fun. Always fun.
Well, thank you for your insight and everything. And like I always say, Paul, when life gives you a chance, make it happen. Peace. All right.